So in this video, I want to answer the question, should you start minoxidil after a hair transplant? And we're going to talk about how some hair transplant clinics use minoxidil to mask results and show you results that actually aren't real, when it is safe to start minoxidil after a hair transplant, and why you may not want to start minoxidil after getting your hair transplant done. And these two are contradictory, but I'm going to explain everything, and it basically comes down to a choice that you have to make, and I'm going to show you that in this video. So first, why should you even listen to me? Well, my name is Jesse. My hair loss started at 18, 19 years old. I often say 19 actually. Right now I'm 28, but I only did the wrong things until, from age 19 all the way to 25. I tried different treatments, trends, gimmicks, and nothing worked for me. Also like caffeine shampoo, I tried as well, absolutely useless. And that only started changing at age 25. So I wasted 6 years of my progress, and I'm making these videos to help you not make the same mistakes. And so I've had a hair transplant done, but in the process of getting a hair transplant done, I nearly chose the wrong clinic. And so from all the lessons that I learned from my own hair transplant journey and also my own hair loss journey, like just with the treatment route that I take, I've been doing this for a couple years now, and in that time I've helped over 300 men to overcome their hair loss. So you can see me right here, 2021, looks absolutely amazing. And this is me at the end of 2024, and you can see the difference. And so, this is what I've been able to do, and this is why I make these videos. So first I want to talk about why minoxidil isn't actually a fix. So if you have male pattern hair loss or female pattern hair loss, and both of them are androgenic alopecia, they are the same root cause, they are the same problem. Using minoxidil doesn't solve the problem you are experiencing right now. So if you use it, and it's the only thing you use, all it does is give you temporary regrowth while the problem gets worse in the background. And so to actually fix it, and with it I mean androgenic alopecia, you have to use a 5-AR block like finasteride or the testride, or if you are a female, you can also get away with spironolactone as well, which I forgot to add in this. But those are the options that you have to take. But you have to treat the root cause before you actually start to fix it, because a major misconception with hair transplant is that people think hair transplants fix anything. Hair transplants don't fix anything. Just remember that. But if you are using a 5-AR blocker, if you are using finasteride or dutasteride, something like that, and you are stable, you've been using it for a long time, then adding minoxidil on top is absolutely a great option. It is absolutely amazing, because then we have the foundation for for the regrowth. And so the actual fix is the 5-AR blocker like finasteride or dutasteride, and then adding minoxidil on top, it just helps you. It just helps you with the regrowth. So what happens if you start minoxidil after the hair transplant? So if you get a hair transplant done while you haven't been on minoxidil for example, 30 days, which you should, you are at the absolute baseline. And so there are two reasons why you don't want to take minoxidil into getting your hair transplant. First off, because minoxidil is a vasodilator, it impacts your blood pressure. And so if you take it and then you are in the healing stage, if you bleed, for example, then the minoxidil can make the bleeding even worse, and bleeding wounds don't heal, and it can make it even worse. Maybe you even lose grafts because of it. It can absolutely happen. Second is because when you are using minoxidil for regrowth, then the regrowth that you get also depends on your specific minoxidil use. And so if you use minoxidil and you get regrowth like in the back of your head, and then you transplant those minoxidil hairs on top, then those minoxidil hairs will only keep growing when you are still using minoxidil all that time. And if you then stop it for whatever reason, maybe you forget it, or maybe you can't take it anymore for any reason, that's when your hair transplant dependency on minoxidil shows, and you can lose part of your hair transplant. And we don't want that. We want to be at the absolute baseline. So like I say here, if you start minoxidil after the hair transplant, the minoxidil hairs grow alongside the hair transplant. And this isn't a problem per se, but I'm going to show that in a later slide why that may be. And another point is that hair transplant clinics may not mention minoxidil use in after picture. So you see before picture, everything looks not great or horrible, whatever you want to call it. And then you see the after picture, everything is absolutely amazing. And you're like, wow, how did they do it with the hair transplant alone? And the thing is, they didn't, but they didn't tell you that. So that's the risk that you are taking when looking at hair transplant clinics that do this. So when is it safe to start minoxidil after a hair transplant? Honestly, in regarding, like I said, to the dependency and the healing that is going on, I would just avoid topical and oral for 2 weeks post-operation. Why topical and oral? First off, because oral impacts your blood pressure, can make healing worse, and second, because topical can also cause some irritation on your scalp. And when you are recovering from a hair transplant, the last thing you want is irritation, especially when you are dealing with those healing grafts. You don't want any irritation at all. You want to keep it as nice as possible. So just avoid topical and oral for 2 weeks post-op. And I think 2 weeks is fine, because after 2 weeks everything has healed, and only the only thing that needs to happen is that the hair grafts themselves need to restart again and need to get used to their new location, basically. And that's where the 12 months come in. But just for 2 weeks I wouldn't do it. And so for this part, why you may not want to start minoxidil after getting your hair transplant done. So the thing is, your minoxidil growth happens on top of your current baseline. And so if you are on your baseline, you get a hair transplant done, and then 12 months later, you look at the final results, then you have been on minoxidil for the 12 months, but also you are getting the final stages are actually the finish line. You're at the finish line of your hair transplant recovery. So those are basically two ways that impact your hair regrowth. So maybe it doesn't make sense for you to start minoxidil after your hair transplant. And what does it actually come down to? Well, if you care about having the most hair, then you can start minoxidil 2 weeks post-op, no problem. You can absolutely do that. That's fine. It's completely fine. But if you care about seeing your actual hair transplant result, I would start minoxidil 12 months post-operation. And so when deciding between these, what did I choose? Personally, I did not use minoxidil after my hair transplant. I waited for a year after the hair transplant, and then I went back to the clinic. The clinic took pictures for their own portfolio, of course, and I wanted to see the difference as well. And when I was at the clinic, I could also ask them, like, hey, what is still possible for me in the future? And then the surgeon could look at my results, look at my donor, and then it gave me a plan going forward for what is possible for me. But that is only possible because I didn't use minoxidil for that entire time. So when I went in, I was only looking at the actual baseline. So depending on what you want, you're gonna have to make a choice. And so circling back to the title, should you start minoxidil after a hair transplant? Again, it depends on your priorities, but all you have to remember is to stop minoxidil before the hair transplant and not using it for 2 weeks post-operation. That's the only thing. And so what you prefer to do afterwards, maybe you want more hair, maybe you want a realistic result that you can build on top of, that is totally up to you, but you are going to have to choose one of them. I went for the realistic result when I was at the clinic, so I could know what is actually possible for me. And then afterwards, like I think it was month 14 or month 16 post-op, that's when I actually started using minoxidil. And so just be aware that not our hair transplant clinics mention patient minoxidil use. This can be either by intention, they know that you have been using it, but they want to create a better result than it actually is. Or maybe it's by accident, maybe it got lost in the process, maybe you forget to mention it, something like that. It can absolutely happen. So just be aware of some results that you are seeing out there, like, wow, this guy was completely gone, for example, then he got a hair transplant done, everything is back, everything is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, that may not be the case, but you may not know the reason why. And so if you want help with your own hair transplant and choosing the right clinic the first time and making sure the hairs that you have are staying, check the link in the description below, book a call, because on that call we can see if working together is a great idea for you. That's the end of this video. Tomorrow I will upload another video in regards to hair transplant. If you want to know anything, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.